my name is Rolo Wexford, and I only tell the truth. Last week's video had a lot of raw emotion to it, a lot going on. It was very, very political, and I didn't mean for this to be a political platform, but there was something in my heart that had to go out into the world, so it did. But I didn't want to seem like one of those, super nerdy types who are, always diving into what's topical and trying to politicize their fantasy universes and all kinds of stuff like that. So we're going to move away from the treacherous, waters of minority-produced tabletop role-playing games to the simple and fantastic universe of Harry Potter. What? The Harry Potter stories are a slice-of-life drama about a celebrity orphan who's raised in exile by abusive adoptive parents and then thrust back into his own world for which he's not prepared, for those of you who don't know. If you like stories of revenge, romance, high adventure, great moral lessons, then, this is the story for you. I unironically recommend the Harry Potter books if for no other reason than they got a generation of kids to read. In a wasteland of thin and poorly written horror novels, J.K. Rowling's stuff offered kids a much richer environment to explore their imaginations. J.K. Rowling gave people something creative that they could point their imaginations at. There wasn't just another retelling of J.R.R. Tolkien stuff. It was also fantasy literature that was well written, but also built for kids. Something that wasn't afraid to scary topics, but was still meant as a kind of mentor growing up story, and that's good. People need that. That's part of how we learn our moral values. Another thing the Harry Potter stories try to teach us is the value of friendship, placing such a high value on friendship that it supersedes magic as the thing that is most powerful in the universe. You've got a pretty level playing field, magically speaking. You've got some very powerful young wizards. You've got some very learned older wizards. And, there's a lot of supernatural impossibility being thrown at each other. But the people who win are the people who stick together and who identify the weaknesses in their characters and allow their friends to fill in the cracks of those weaknesses. That's great. That's another lesson that should be learned. And the fact that it's friendship, connection, and not magic that saves the day, it's an important lesson, and I think something that gets overlooked. There's also the importance of women in the Harry Potter universe. Professor McGonagall single-handedly said, hey, white-haired old grandma ladies can still be badass. Professor Umbridge shows that it's not just a twee universe of magical girls, right? There are powerful evil women, there are powerful good women, all of whom have different agendas. And are capable of executing their goodness or evil in the world independent of men because of the strength of their character. That's great. We can't forget that on some level, it's Hermione Granger that allows Emma Watson to be Emma Watson. And she's a force for good in the world. The beauty of the fiction, right, the excellence of that little world in the bubble, that's constant. Right? That's never going to change. That's fixed, independent of the author. And the goodness that comes out of it, that's going to be constant as long as we maintain it, cultivate it. So all I'm saying is, you don't have to burn down the whole forest, right? Just because there's an ugly thing, it's our responsibility to tend the garden, to weed when appropriate. For those of you still having trouble and who just can't accept the idea that the fiction can exist independent of the real world, I'm going to help you out. J.K. Rowling's already established that the Harry Potter universe can be affected retroactively by statements made in the real world, right? Dumbledore's gay. That's fine, right? In love with Grindelwald, it actually makes the story better for me because it makes Dumbledore's character it makes sense a little more. Why would somebody exhibit bad judgment, so much bad judgment when it comes to this one single character? Well, it's love, right? Which one of us hasn't made stupid decisions for love and regretted it later and thought, man, maybe I shouldn't have done that? Done, right? Dumbledore's super gay. I love it. So let's make our own addition to the universe that makes the story more palatable for us, right? Snape, trans man. Great trans man character. So let's go back to the time when we see James and Sirius victimizing Snape, like assaulting Snape, no joke, right? And let's peel the pages apart a little bit and read the section that we missed that indicates that Snape is a trans man And the reason that Sirius and James are being so crappy to him is because they're bullies, right? Because that's, that's a flaw in their character, right? And the tragedy of Snape's character is that he loved Lily Potter, and she knew he was trans, and she was willing to give him a shot anyway, right? She was willing to accept him for who he is, right? No matter his body shape. But then, she's a teenage girl. She falls instead for the more, hunky, jock-like Harry's dad, right? And sometimes that's how the world shakes out. What makes Snape the best trans character is that Snape stays loyal to the memory of Lily, the excellence of Lily, and continues to protect Harry and becomes one of the most capable wizards in the entire wizarding world, right? So, there you go. Snape, trans man. In fact, with Snape as a trans man character, you could make the argument that the best male role model Harry gets, the best actual person that Harry has a chance to emulate, is Snape himself. Maybe it's Dumbledore, but still, Snape has to be in the running, right? Compare his objective traits to those of Sirius and Lupin and his dad, even. Yeah, so I recommend the Harry Potter series. The Harry Potter books are good, and the soothing notes of Jim Dale's voice will put a smile on anyone's face. That being said, good night, good luck.